All right, we're going to continue with our Q&A. We're going to move on to the race-winning owner, Justin Marks, who's now joined us here in the Talladega Superspeedway Media Center. Justin, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on that second win. Just take us through those final laps from your spot on the pit box.
Jeez, I wasn't on the pit box. I was in the bus. I was trying to keep my world a little quiet at the end because it just, these things end up being so circumstantial at the end of the races. I mean, what's interesting about this race is, and we talked about this in the bus with about 15 to go, is everybody's kind of in a single file line, and we're all kind of cruising, but everybody's just thinking about what they're going to do at the end. And then you see a whole bunch of plans try to be executed at one moment, but they don't all jive with everybody else's plans, so it's just madness. And I really liked where Ross was. I liked that he was just painting the bottom, and he was being patient, and just sort of riding with some Chevrolet friends there. And when things got crazy, Ross is in a spot right now where he's making, pretty intelligent decisions. So, I mean, it's just, I'm a fan alongside the other 150,000 people here on the property at the end of the race, just cheering for my guy, and he did a great job.
Awesome. Well, we're going to open up for questions for Justin. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We're going to start up front with Bob, and then we'll go to Steven. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Pockers, Fox
Bob,
Sports.
how was last night?
That was 2 nights ago.
Was it 2 nights ago?
Yeah. You can.
We need to party.
Watch our pre-race.
You and
I know you guys love our pre-race shows.
I do.
Ross won this race with patience. Did you think he would win a race with patience?
That's a very, very interesting question. I've said this a number of times, Bob. I mean, Ross has spent a number of years in his career fighting every lap of every race because tomorrow wasn't given, because next week was not guaranteed. And I've seen and continue to see so much talent in him that my goal was to put him in a position where he didn't have to do that, where he had some job security and he felt like he could build this team around him. And I told him this year that if he slowed down a little bit for me and just took a deep breath and slowed down 5%, that we can do great things. And I think that's where that comes from, right? Is that he's now comfortable in his job and comfortable in his skin and understands and knows this team is being built around him. So he can take a breath and he can be more calculated and not try to get it all right now in this moment. And I think at a place like Talladega, there's equity in that because you have to be really intelligent and cerebral about how you approach the end of these races, and he just did a perfect job today.
And you have 2 wins. How do you start preparing this team for a significant playoff run, or do you not even start thinking about, man, how deep we can go, and how do we get a group that's assumed not really been in a playoff situation ready for it?
Yeah, I don't even think we begin to have those conversations. I mean, I think that we're here today, and we were where we were at COTA and the races leading up to COTA just because we've got a process that works, and I think that we have to just fundamentally stay committed to that process. I mean, I think when you start talking about playoff strategy and how you're going to mount a run for the championship, I mean, that kind of mental bandwidth is reserved, I think, at this point for the teams that have been there a long time, right? That's something that Gibbs talks about. That's something that Hendrick and Penske talk about. But Trackhouse is so new that we can't start thinking that way. We have to just focus on what we're doing every week, just the execution of what we're doing every week that's putting us in that position. Obviously, we're contending for wins kind of week in and week out. We just have to commit to that. I don't think that there's going to be any conversation about playoff strategy for the foreseeable future.
All right, we'll go to Steven. Go ahead.
Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Justin, the objective in this sport is to win anywhere you can, but Talladega, there's a certain cultural hold and mystique that this track has, not only in racing, but also in mainstream culture as a whole. Mm-hmm. As you continue to build Trackhouse, what does it do for your team as an organization and also as a brand to have staked your claim to having won at this racetrack?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an important question because Talladega is so important in the history of this sport. It's hallowed ground. I mean, we were flying in here 10 o'clock this morning, looking at all the campers and all the people here and going, man, I flew with Tim Duggar, and he says, when I close my eyes and think about America, I picture Talladega Superspeedway on a NASCAR weekend. Like, it's awesome to be able to come here with so much history and how important this place is for Trackhouse, a new team. Obviously, we won at COTA, sort of a new track. To come to hallowed ground like this and win, I mean, I mean, winning at Talladega, it's incredible. It's incredible.
All right, we're going to go. Hang tight. Give me a minute here. We got a couple hands up. We're going to come up front to Jeff. I'm going to go upstairs to the press box, then come back downstairs and get Dustin, Jordan, and Daniel. So up front to Jeff Gluck right here, please. Thank you.
I know you're not thinking about how to manage the playoffs yet, but where do you think Ross fits in right now in terms of the title contenders? I mean, there's only got a couple guys with 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean, things can change really quickly in this sport, right? Like, we have a lot of momentum right now, and everybody's doing a great job bringing fast race cars to the racetrack, but things can change quickly, right? Like, I mean, other teams, other manufacturers, they can find something really quickly, and I mean, you know, we've seen Tony Stewart do what he does through summer stretches and through the playoffs. Like you know, resurgence or momentum can sort of come from anywhere at any time. So I'm being honest when I say that playoffs isn't a word that's uttered in our building at all. I mean, because you know, we still have to go to a lot of tracks with this race car that we've never been to before, and we still have a lot to learn. We're committed to the process of learning this car and figuring out the right approach to this car. So, you know, I'm being totally honest with you. Like, we don't talk about that at all because it's so new. Everything is just so new. We're just trying to do a good job every day. You know what I mean?
All right, we're going to go upstairs to the press box for the question.
Chris Knight, CatchMans.com. Justin, congratulations on the win. This morning, Trackhouse Racing announced another new partner for the 2022 season and beyond. I was just curious how much inventory, if any, do you have left for 2022 available?
Yeah, we don't have anything left in 22, and honestly, we probably don't have anything left in 23. I mean, we've got a lot of momentum right now. What we're doing is resonating with a lot of people. We're authentic. We're real. Obviously, we're winning, which is important. And you know, this is a great sport. I mean, this is a sport where companies can come in and they can build brand awareness. They can grow their business, and we're just trying to position ourselves as Trackhouse as the most viable place for companies to come and do that. So I take a lot of pride in bringing, you know, 2 new companies to the sport. Not only Worldwide Express, but Jockey also that we announced on Monday, and obviously Tootsie's and all the other stuff we've got going on. So you know, I think that it's, you know, what we're trying to do here is being successful, because I think, you know, people are, this is a partnership-based business, and the partners are seeing that Trackhouse is a great place to be.
All right, any additional questions in the press box?
No, ma'am.
All right, we're going to come back downstairs. We're going to go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Justin, 2 wins in 10 races. You call yourselves disruptors. That's quite a disruption in the sport. So is that what you expected at the beginning of the season? Since you say you're here to disrupt, wasn't that the idea?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I get that question. I get that question a lot, and my answer to that is, you know, all of us would not have put the work into starting Trackhouse to just be here also, right? To be here and try to contend or try to do this. I mean, we're trying to establish ourselves, Trackhouse, as a company that can contend for championships in the sport for decades to come. And so I think that I would say that the expectation was that we would be here, but it's happened quickly. It's happened very, very quickly. But what comes with that, a lot of responsibility comes with that too, because like I said earlier, it's not gonna be like this forever, right? I mean, there's gonna be a trough that we go through. There's gonna be times when, you know, and it could happen at any point, right? Other teams are strong, other OEMs are strong, and we have to build a strong foundation. So when those headwinds come, we can navigate them, and we're not a flash in the pan, and we're not, oh, remember when Trackhouse showed up and they were good for this period of time. Like that fundamental work comes in just establishing, you know, what's working right now, which is the fact that we're building a great culture. Everybody that works for Trackhouse loves working for the company. They're excited about this car. They're excited about the opportunity, and ends up being speed in the race car, I believe, with this new car. So, yeah. No, I had success, right? I mean, but my goals in 2022 were not in numbers of wins, points, positions. One car makes the playoffs. It wasn't. It was in, and continues to be, in making sure that every week we get better and that we invest in each other and that we learn this race car and we constantly improve. Those are the goals every week at Trackhouse, right? The wins are nice, the results are nice, but that's the byproduct of the work we put in Monday through Friday. So that's just continues to be where we focus our attention.
All right, we're going to come up front to Jordan, please.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Do you think yourselves as like a model organization for any new ownerships groups coming in?
I hope so. I mean, I think that an element of what Trackhouse is doing feels a bit of a responsibility to do everything that we can to elevate the sport, right? To amplify the sport, to be good stewards of the sport. And so, like, if we're doing great things out there, and it attracts people to emulate, or attracts or inspires new ownership or other teams to do things, then I think that's all good, right? It's like, everybody says, I spent a ton of money making the haulers look good, right? And so people have come up and said, hey, your haulers look awesome. Haulers look amazing. But in a way, it doesn't really matter, but it does matter, right? So, like, if everybody comes in and goes, man, your haulers look incredible, if that inspires every other team in the series to get super creative with how they manage their branding and their optics and how they wrap their haulers, how they wrap their pit boxes, how they wrap their toolboxes, like, then it's sort of a rising tide raises all ships. I mean, like, Trackhouse exists fundamentally because we freaking love NASCAR racing. Love it. I love it. And, like, I want to do something in this sport that's great for Trackhouse, but if I can contribute something that inspires all the other teams and new owners and stuff, then great, awesome. Come on.
Your friendship with Kid Rock, how did that come to be, and what's his involvement with the team?
Oh, he just hangs out because he likes to go to the races. He's just riding our coattails. No, I'm kidding. I mean, we have a great partner in Tootsie's, and that partnership is so much more than just a bar on Broadway. I mean, Steve Smith, who owns Tootsie's, owns Kid Rock's, Honky Tonk Central, Rippy's, the Diner. I mean, he's a major hospitality powerhouse in Nashville. So being able to be partnered with somebody like him really brings the Nashville connection to what we're doing. And Bob's he's a huge supporter and friend of what we're doing. Obviously, him and Steve have that Honky Tonk, Kid Rock's Honky Tonk on Broadway, and it's just part of kind of the power of Trackhouse in that town a little bit. It's like people just love it, want to be a part of it.
All right, we're going to continue with questions. I'm going to go to Daniel in the back, up to Kelly, to Jenna, and then Weaver, and then I'm going to work in a few others. Go ahead, Daniel.
Dylan McFadden, frontstretch.com. I got two questions. First, Chip Ganassi Racing only got 2 wins in its final 2 seasons. Since you brought over pretty much a majority of the people who worked under that banner, I know it's a different car, different circumstances. Do you measure in any way, shape, or form what you're doing now compared to what the Ganassi umbrella was able to accomplish in its closing days?
It's easy to do that. I mean, that's pretty low hanging fruit, right? Because in a time of transition, you're trying to measure yourself against what was before. But honestly, I don't really think about it. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Chip Ganassi. I mean, I've raced for him for a number of years. I've been inspired by watching him and his teams race. Things are just so different. I mean, we've kept a lot of people, but it's an entirely new culture. The building looks different. We got this new car, new schedule. So, that doesn't really ever come to mind just because we're just trying to do our business strategy, our business model is just so different. But to your point, I mean, it's important to recognize, like, Chip Ganassi and Chip Ganassi Racing, they have some ownership in this win and in our win in Austin because we've got so many people that work for Trackhouse that worked at Chip Ganassi Racing and out of that building and everything. But we're just Trackhouse just can't compare to Chip Ganassi because what we're doing is just so different.
My second question is, I confirmed with Andy Petrie today that the number 33 Skull car that's sitting at Truck House is the one that got the 4 wins in September back in '91.
Yeah.
So first off, what drove you to get that car, and why display it at your headquarters?
Like I said, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I want to be a steward of the sport's history and the sport's future. I've got, I'm fortunate enough in my house to have a Tim Richmond Blue Max Racing suit hanging on my wall. Liz Allison gave me one of Davies' suits from '93 that I've got in the house. And, if Trackhouse can make investments to help preserve the history of the sport, that's kind of what we do, is we want to honor the history of the sport. And, Mr. September, I mean, Harry Gant won all those races in that car for Andy Petrie. And when Andy and I were talking about it, I said, if you ever want to sell that car, we'll buy it. And it's the car, and it's sitting right there. And I want NASCAR to, I want NASCAR to, I'm going to ask NASCAR if they'll let me take a couple laps in it at Darlington on Throwback Weekend. I haven't asked that question yet, but I guess I'm asking it now.
We'll make sure it gets to the right spot.
Thank you.
All right. Daniel Kelly. That's where I was going.
Kelly, CrandallRacer.com. Justin, you've been preaching, as you have in here, about balancing, building the culture, and other teams are coming and building. But how do you balance, though, allowing your organization to enjoy and celebrate these successes and what you guys are building, but not getting, as you keep talking about, too high because other teams are coming?
Yeah, I mean, I think celebrate it quick and get over it quick, right? I mean, it's after we won COTA, I told Ross, we were doing a bunch of media in the shop like Tuesday afternoon. I was like, I'm over Texas. Like I'm all Richmond right now, and just like we're all going to be, what's next, Dover? We're all going to be Dover. Yeah, we're all going to be Dover this week, right? So, I think it's what I've said about the fact that we're super committed to just the day in and day out process, our model of doing the work, and that's proven to be successful. And it's a challenge. I mean, managing success is every bit as difficult as managing failure. We did a good job today, too. So there comes a lot of responsibility with quick success, and that means committing fundamentally to what got you there in the process of getting there, and not expecting to be the team every week, but just basically us waking up and going to the shop on Monday morning and going, we could suck this weekend at Dover. Both cars could suck, right? So it's like it's the competition is out there ready to crush you every single week, and that's just kind of how we think. Yeah, for sure. And that just comes with how we support each other and how we manage the narrative in the shop of just going like we're doing something special here, but it's an exercise in managing expectations too, because we have a lot of experience at Trackhouse. We're a new team, but we have a lot of experience. I mean, the cumulative experience of people that work for this team is hundreds of years in this sport, and so we have a lot of people in the company that would say like, hey, we've been on this ride before too. Like we've been on this ride, we've won races and then just gotten crushed for a while. So I mean, we're just all kind of doing a good job of how we manage the highs and the lows. I don't think we get that low, and we just don't get that high. Like today is fun, but this week we'll be focused on Dover and know that that's an entirely different challenge again.
All right, I'm going to quickly wrap with Justin before we start with Ross. I'm going to go to Jenna and then end with Matt.
I can hear you, Jen.
Missed another win, huh?
When Armando said I'm going to be at every race, that was an expression of passion, not scheduling. That was right. So I mean, it's Pitbull, right? I mean, he's touring, he's recording songs, he's releasing a song in 2 weeks, and they're doing a bunch of press around that, and I promise you that I will again call him this week and give him a bunch of shit for missing a race because he needs to be in victory lane with us.
Has anyone heard from him? He knows you guys won?
Oh yeah, I mean we were on the phone with him in victory lane again. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
And I wanted to get an update on your plans for Nashville. I mean, now that you're in the Ganassi shop and you're changing things, where does Nashville stand?
Yeah, I mean, look, so the idea very, very early on was to try to build a race team based out of Nashville, and that was the strategy when we were just shopping for a charter. And then shopping for a charter became an acquisition of Chip Ganassi Racing, which changed from building a company in Nashville to uprooting a company and moving it to Nashville, which no longer really was viable, especially the relationship we have with Chevrolet and the tech center that they're building in Concord. So, the way I'll answer that is Trackhouse is more than a racing team. It's a brand where we're trying to inspire. We're trying to activate in the intersection point between entertainment and motorsports. It is still very much, we talked about it today, we have a number of conversations, it's still very much in the business development strategy to have a brick and mortar presence in Nashville. It's a matter of figuring out how that looks with our goals scaling as a race team. So a lot of it's up in the air, but Nashville is so important to us, and I think that we've got some momentum in getting something special going there.
All right, and I'm going to end for Justin with Matt. If I can get a microphone to Matt. Thank you.
Racing America, one for Justin and then to Ross. How vital and how important has Ty been to just the infrastructure and the organization? Obviously, his resume suggests he's done this before, he's been here before, but how important has he been?
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, Ty was the first person that I called when I really needed to have a meaningful discussion about what my ideas for this vision was, because I needed to bounce it off of somebody that's seen the highs, the lows, people come and go, the whole thing. How many times have we seen in this sport somebody comes in, they're going to be the next great thing, and it ends up, not working out, right? And I was business partners with Harry Scott for 4 years, right? And so, when I called Ty, I said, look, I've got this idea, and it revolves around this new car. I was like, but I need like a real bullshit meter. Like, I need somebody to tell me this is a bad idea. And Ty saw it. Like, he saw it really, really quickly. And he's been instrumental because he knows so much about how this garage works, about how this business works, and he continues to contribute so much to this company because he just has such a great understanding of how the sport works. But he's also at a point in his life where he's not getting any younger. He's about to be 57, and he sees Trackhouse as his swan song in the sport. And he worked for Dale Earnhardt, and he worked for MWR and Toyota. And I think that he gets really excited about this Trackhouse project really challenging him and everything that he's done in his life, and that final kind of thing in his career that he really makes an impact in this sport. And he's a soldier, and he's super loyal, and the guy works way harder than I ask him to work, so he's super, super vital to us.
He said just now that everyone's brought up the glory days to him this weekend with Jeffrey and the 3-car and the memories there. And he says, like, right now, the way things are going, these are the glory days, and he's going to look back on it like that.
Yeah, well, I love hearing that. I mean, because I want everybody that works for this company to feel like they've got a great job and feel like they're doing important work.
And then for Ross, and actually both of you here too, we talked in LA about when you were first brought on board and overriding the underdog mentality. And you said that Justin said, you're no longer the underdog, you're now a contender, you're here. Could you kind of provide me, both of you, insight into that conversation and how important that was into getting into a championship mindset this early into the year?
I'm going to answer that first, and then I'm going to let you have the stage because I'm going back to Nashville. Huh? You can go with me, yeah. You got to talk quick, though. You can't do those long answers. Huh? No, I know. That's why I'm going to leave and give him the stage. Man, I don't even remember what your question was. Yes, thank you. So, Ross, I met Ross 10 or 11 years ago. I'm a huge, huge fan of his talent. What I told him when the Ganassi acquisition happened, and then when I offered him the job, was that Trackhouse sees an opportunity. That my goal for Trackhouse and what Trackhouse is doing is an opportunity to be great in this sport, and you are a championship driver. And I've seen the whole time I've watched him race and raced against him and watched him come up that this is a championship contending talent at the NASCAR Cup Series level, period. And that this new car represents an opportunity for us to make a statement quickly, to where if we came in with the Gen 6 car, the Gen 5 car, we're up against teams that have so much engineering depth and money and all that stuff, but now we're all kind of playing with the same ball. So I say, like, if we can build a team around this ball and give you control of it, we can really, really do great things. So it's like, we're not an underdog in the sense that, like, I feel like we can go on any weekend, we can go and win. But I've got so much respect for these organizations that race in this series. I mean, we can't come in here and be like, yeah, we're better than Hendrick or better than Gibbs, like whatever. I mean, like I said it earlier, any one of these teams have so much talent and engineering depth at any point they could find momentum, and we could get knocked back a little bit and have to find our way out. But I do believe that Trackhouse is here to stay, that we've arrived, and that what we're doing is we are investing a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources into establishing ourselves as a championship contending team for decades to come.
All right, and with that, Justin, you are clear.
Huh? That was the short answer. Now you guys get the long one.